Have you ever had a creative idea for a design in your head that you just can't seem to bring to life? You can almost picture it, but when you try to explain it to someone, they just can't visualize it. You might try sketching it out or searching online for examples, but none of these options give you a realistic visual of your space with your specific details. What if you decide to go for it, start the project, and end up with something that doesn't turn out the way you had hoped? Well, that's where a rendering service comes in. We can match your dimensions with your design to create visuals. I'm Matt with Optic Designs, and I'm here to tell you why you should consider using a rendering service before starting a construction project. This project started with a customer who was looking to get a bathroom remodel done. And so we went over there and took some dimensions of the space and came up with some design ideas for them, what they liked about the current bathroom, what they wanted in the new one. So first thing we do is we start by building out some of the geometry of the bathroom. We put the exterior walls up and start to design some of the bathroom elements. In this case, we're going with the tile shower, so start to build that out. And then we move on to the sink. Now the sink, this is a shared bathroom for guests and for the master bathroom. You'll see the sink changes quite a bit as we go through the project. What you're going to see is that at first I tried to design the elements of the bathroom to match what's currently the design of the house, the living room, the kitchen, things like that. But it was brought to my attention that the bathroom with the interior walls and lighting currently is a little bit dark, so we decide to change the process along the way. And that's the great thing about rendering, right? You can design some things, you can move on to a different part of the project, get a feel for the space, and then come back to it, make some changes, and you'll see I do that quite a bit. So here I am just building some of the finer details of the space, the sink caps, things like that, just to give it that real life feel. In this case, I'm changing the finishes on the wood for the sink. Start with the material, lighten it up quite a bit. I started with a darker theme for the bathroom, and you'll see some changes that were made later on to kind of lighten it up. But again, this is just matching what's existing in the house. So for the bathroom, I wanted to do a tile shower. Came up with a couple designs at first. I was going to go with bigger tile pieces, and then realized that probably wasn't a good idea for the space. I ended up switching it up later on. I wanted to break up this little nook where the toilet is. I thought maybe a wainscot might be a good option, so I started modeling that out. Brought it all the way around, realized vertical probably wasn't going to be a good idea, so I swapped the planks to horizontal. Started building a frame for it. Thought maybe doing like a light and dark contrast between the frame and the planks would be a good way to break the space up, add a little bit of accent to the area. So here I'm putting some paint on the walls just to get a better feel for the space. I do this a lot where I move around a little bit. As the geometry in the space grows, it's nice to add some of those render elements in there just to really get a feel for what it's going to look like, and that helps to make changes later on. Bringing some entourage into the space, just trying to fill up the wall space to get a better feel for what the bathroom's going to look like. Coming back to the wainscot, I started to put some materials on it throughout the modeling process. You know, like I said, I like to just put things in the space and see how they feel. So after building out the wainscot area, I decided maybe an accent wall would be better just to kind of break up the color on the wall. Decided to get some flooring in here just to get a better feel for the space in general. I decided to get rid of the wainscoting overall. I just didn't feel like it fit in the space. Just went with the accent wall from top to bottom just to break up the wall a little bit. Decided to lighten some things up. It was near this point in the modeling process where it was brought to my attention that it's kind of a darker space. Again, just with the interior walls and corners, it's hard to disperse light around it. Decided to lighten things up overall. Moved to a single sink, giving them more counter space because it's a shared bathroom with the master and guests. They run out of counter space, so decided that maybe a knockout in the wall, a couple shelves in there might be a good way to give them more space. This will be dependent on the studs in the wall. That general area will get a knockout during the remodel. At the time during the scan of the bathroom, my scanning software didn't pick up a window. I thought it was there, so originally I modeled it in. You're going to see later on after showing the V1 render to the customer that I ended up putting it back in because it was actually there. Here I decided to move to more of a herringbone tile design. Thought it was a good way to showcase the shower a little bit more because it's one of the first things you see when you walk into the bathroom. Modeling out the individual tiles here, setting up the design to where the tiles break on the corners right. This is a pretty tedious process of the modeling. You'll see during the rendering it makes a huge effect. Starting to build the frame for the shower doors. Decided to do glass shower doors on this one to give it a little bit more of a modern feel. Building the shower doors and putting them in something like a track isn't something that most people will notice in a rendering, but if you look closely you'll be able to see it in the final product, and that's what bridges the gap between conceptual and reality on these. So I like to add those finer details in for the customer. At this point I decided to change over the sink from a wood panel to a gray panel, just to go with the current theme of kind of whites and grays, more modern look. Due to limited counter space, I decided that a sunken sink would be better, give it more room. Probably some cost savings here, easier on the customer's budget to do something more available. You gotta render for what you have available. It's always nice to give customers a very conceptual drawing to dream about, but a lot of times you're working in what's available in your market. A sink like this is more available in our market, more on the shelf, as opposed to a custom sink being built. Adding some grout lines to the tile just to give it that added effect. Decided to go with dark grout on this just to give it a little contrast to the tile. For the trim around the doors and the base trim, at first I thought about matching what's existing there, but then decided to change it up just to make it a little bit more modern to match the space with the whites and the grays. Went with a bigger trim profile than what they currently have. Decided to go with modern hardware for the door, just again sticking with the theme. I wanted to add some shelving into this space, give it a little accent as well, so you'll see I decided to go with a lighter wood, give some contrast to the area, break up some of the grays and whites. Bringing some entourage into the scene just to give it that real feel, starting with the laundry basket and then the shower head. It's kind of the final design I came up with for the sink. Feel like it works good with the space. Put a picture on the wall next to the toilet just to break up that wall a little bit, and I ended up finding a cool photo from the customer from a vacation they were on, so I thought that'd be a cool personal touch for them just to have one of their photos modeled in the space. Bringing in some more render elements. Adding some modern cabinet pulls onto the sink. Moving on to lighting, I decided to add can lights into the space just to give the ceiling a little bit more room, make the space feel more open, feels a little closed off with the interior walls. Added some extra lighting, try to brighten the space up a little bit. See at first that I added can lights over the sink just to try to give it more room, make it feel more open. And then later on, after the rendering was discussed with the customer, we decided to move to vanity lights in that area. You'll see that swapped out in the final rendering. Bringing in some of the final render elements like light switches to make it feel more real. Then moving on to Chaos Vantage, this is where we generate animations for the customer. So started building the scene, getting the camera ready for the movement animations. When displaying renderings for a small space, sometimes it's hard to capture everything. Making animations for the customer to look at is a really useful tool to showcase a smaller space like this. Just building the render animation now, give them some ideas of the rendering. Quick preview of what the render animation will look like. So here's our final render animations and still photos for the customer. What's great is they can now take this material and bring it to their contractor to come up with some ideas to build a budget. These still photos are a great option for them to discuss design ideas with the contractor. It gives them a general sense of what the project will look like at the end, which is always a great tool to have when working with builders. It's always nice to receive a message like this when you send the renders to the customer, so that's much appreciated. As always, please like, comment, subscribe to the video and channel. Let us know what you would like to see next. We're always looking for feedback. Thank you for watching.